as we go through a strange July in this world, at least one thing is normal. The Eagles are back. Dallas still stinks. Yo, by the way, Kick Dingbat here, and finally, Eagle fans, finally, after going through one of the craziest off seasons of our life, the Eagles return. They are back, and today has gone off perfectly, because the last thing you want to be is in the news with a lot of news stories when your players return for camp. Just like the Cowboys, just like the Jets, you don't want holdouts. And those teams, they got a lot of problems. Now, check this out, right? Before we start talking about the Eagles, I got to talk about these two things, right? Cowboys rumors. CeeDee Lamb not on team flight to Oxnard amid contract holdout buzz. CeeDee Lamb is basically saying, from what is being reported, no contract, no play. So the Cowboys are now going to go through a contract holdout with CeeDee Lamb. And guess what? The Cowboys, they're the kind of team that will go to week 2, week 3 before they go out and actually sign him, which means he won't really be ready to play at full capacity till like week 6, week 7, which means they stink again. I'm telling you, they are absolutely going to stink. But it looks like the Cowboys got problems. Apparently, there hasn't even been substantial negotiations with CeeDee Lamb. You got to wonder what's going on in Dallas. And I love absolutely every second of it, okay? Now, another name who's holding out, which I don't know how to interpret this, really. You could interpret this two ways. You can say the Eagles dodged a major bullet by having traded Haason Reddick. They got out of it. They don't have to deal with this. Or you could say, if Haason Reddick is still in the Eagles, I don't know that he pulls this like he's going to pull with the Jets. But Haason Reddick, he ain't showing up to camp. All right? Adam Schefter's reporting this. Source: Jets defensive end Haason Reddick, who has not landed the new contract he has been seeking, is not planning to report to training camp today with the rest of his team. The Jets traded a conditional 2026 third-round pick that could become a second-round pick when they acquired Reddick this offseason from Philadelphia. Reddick is in the final year of his contract and is scheduled to make $14.5 million this season. Oh, $14.5 million. Oh, I don't know what to do with that. Pay me $1.4 million, and I'll come get you 10 mother humping sacks. Are you kidding? Jeez, it's a lot of money. We talk about this money sometimes, and it just blows my mind. Like, we talk about like, 20 million here, 25 million here, like it's nothing. And it's like, man, I can't even imagine what that would look like in a bank account. If I had that much money in like the bank, all I would do is look at my balance all day. I don't know what else to do with it. My God, and I'd probably spend it all. But that is what it is. Haason Reddick holding out, CeeDee Lamb holding out, and I don't know. I mean, I gotta be honest. I think if Haason Reddick is on the Eagles still, I don't think he holds out. I don't think he pulls this. I don't think he pulls this move if he's still with the Eagles. I mean, what loyalty does he really feel with the Jets? He hasn't really played with those players. He hasn't been on that team. So I could see it being a lot easier to hold out, being that you're on the Jets. And what are the Jets thinking? How do you trade for a guy and not be sure he's going to show up? Kind of crazy. But I guess it's fair to say that the Eagles, they dodged a major bullet. I guess you could say that, because it would suck right now if he came in and all of a sudden he's holding out. Who wants to deal with that? Only the Cowboys love dealing with that kind of stuff. Now, we watched Saquon Barkley and the Hard Knock stuff, and we got a chance to see all that. But it's pretty interesting that Barkley is now talking about his situation. I guess in general, he sat down for a pretty long interview, and he basically said the Giants, he felt disrespected. Saquon Barkley calls Giants contract talks disrespectful and a slap in the face. I mean, we talked about this very thing. When you watch the Hard Knocks episodes, of course he's being disrespected. It was brutal. I don't know what the hell the New York Giants were thinking, but I mean, of course Barkley was disrespected. So here's what Barkley said on the Scoop City podcast about the Giants and the decision to leave. Quote, "No matter what, I probably wasn't going to go back," he continued. "Like, I know my agent went back and talked to him, and, like, we gave him the opportunity, all right, to match. But the whole time, I was already removed myself. I had that conversation, and I was like, damn, it's going to suck. It hurts. It was like, I wanted to do this, and, like, that's why it hurts. It hurts because, like, I'm the type of player, like, the type of person, like, that envision things." He says it like a lot of times. It's like, I wanted to be part of New York and the success and be part of the organization. Well, I'll say this to Barkley. You could want to have success, but he ain't getting it in New York. Why? Because the Giants stink. All right? So, you know, he basically was happy to move on, and then now he's with the Eagles, and he did speak about the Eagles fans and the difference of perception of what it's like to be a Giant and see the Eagles and their fan base, and to see it like being on the Eagles. So this is what Saquon Barkley said.
What was Philadelphia when you were a New York Giant?
Crazy. But they're still crazy, but in a different way. Like, it was more of like, when you're on the Giant side, you're like, oh, these motherfuckers are insane. Yeah. But like, in this side, you're like, oh no, it's like, they bleed this. Like, this is Philly. Like, this is like, it's Eagles, Flyers, Philly. Like, they bleed this. Like, we lose on Sunday, like, they're having a bad week. Like, if it impacts your week. Like,
so, like many of you guys, you got to be excited about Saquon Barkley on the Eagles. I think he has a monster year. Like I said, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns, game 1 versus Green Bay. That's my prediction. Now, as you guys know, the Eagles players, they are going to camp. They are reporting today, and they will have their first practice tomorrow. Now, I always like seeing the guys come in, and like I said, the one thing you really want on this day as they report is you don't want to hear this player didn't show up or the Eagles got this player holding out. You don't need that kind of stuff. That's like the worst way to start training camp. It just is. You just fall behind, and you fall behind very quickly. So fortunately for the Eagles, they don't have that. Everybody's reporting. Everybody's ready to go. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see this team on the field. I'm excited to see the games. We are going to have a lot of live streams this week. A lot of live streams, a lot of games this year. It's going to be crazy, you know. I'm going to take this day. I'm going to do this video. And I'm going to go spend time with my family because I ain't going to see them again until like January. I ain't going to see them, you know. My kids will probably be married, whatever. You know, who knows? I'm going to be here doing so much football this season. It's going to be crazy. All right, now, as far as the schedule for tomorrow goes, John McMullen is reporting this. Pound Eagles, Nick Sirianni is kicking off training camp a little earlier than expected tomorrow morning. Pre-practice presser will be 9 a.m. Eastern, which means I have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning because I have to wake up a little bit. I have to have caffeine. Then I'm going to have to get dressed, be ready and for everything to go so I can get out of the house, watch the press conference, and then get my videos going and all that sorts of stuff like that. The Eagles are practicing tomorrow. They're practicing, and that's a good thing. I just, as I was getting ready to film this video, I just came across this by Zach Berman, which is, shout out to Zach Berman for posting this, but the Eagles' mindset going into camp and going into practice need to be different. They need to practice. They need to play in preseason as far as I'm concerned. This team needs more reps, more repetitions than last year. I thought we were a little bit too sloppy, especially early in the season, and it just seemed like it took forever to get going. And with a new offense coming in, you really need repetition, and you need to practice. All right, so Zach Berman posted this. A comparison of how the Eagles plan their training camp practice schedule leading up to the preseason opener in 2022, 2023, and this season. It should give a sense of how this year is different than last year. So 2022, they practiced day one, practice on day one of 2023, practice tomorrow in 2024. But then you look at it, they 22 and 23, they both had a walkthrough. The Eagles start with 2 practices this year. They're right off the bat, it's 2 practices. So when you look at the comparisons of 2022, 2023, and just looking at this, not really counting through all of it, the Eagles got a lot more practices than they did the last 2 years. They're practicing a lot more. They come out this year, they go practice, practice, walk through, practice. Then they get a day off. Last year was practice, walk through 2 years ago, then practice, then off. So they only practiced twice, and then they already had a day off. They got to get 3 practices in, right? And then they come back. Instead of doing a walkthrough like last year, they got to practice again. So they're already going to be doing 3 practices in the first 4 days. And then they come back and they do 2 more practices and then a walkthrough. Then they got to practice at night. I'm wondering if that's going to be the open practice, because this doesn't have the times on it. And then they have another walkthrough. Then they have a day off. They have a lot less days off, a lot less walkthroughs, and a lot more practice. I mean, get this. So they practice. They come off of the first day off. Then they practice, walkthrough, practice. Then they have a walkthrough. Then they have a day off. And then it's back and it's practice. That's 4 straight practices, a walkthrough, and then your first game of the season. I like that. So to start off preseason, start off training camp, this team is practicing a lot more than they practiced a year ago. And I love that. I do. I think that is the way to approach it. Now, when they get into preseason, what they're going to have to do, in my opinion, is they're going to have to go out there and let these starters play. Let them play. You don't have to overdo it, but maybe the first game of preseason, maybe they get a series. Maybe the second game you let them play a quarter, all right? And then the third preseason game, of course, they don't play. And then you got to get ready for Green Bay. But I think that they're going to need more practice. They're going to need more reps. And I think they need to play in preseason. I really, really do. So I like what they're doing here. I do. I think that's the right way to approach it. I think that's the right thing to do. And this team, to me, it went flawlessly today. You want everybody to report, everything to go good. You have even Sirianni starting early tomorrow, and we're off to a good start. We're rolling. The Eagles are back, mother humpers. They're back. Now, what are they going to do? Justin Simmons? Are they going to trade Bradbury? We'll get into all that in other videos. But in this video, let's just be happy. The Eagles are back. They're back. Now, with that said, I will be busy. You will see me all day tomorrow, so look for that. Should be a lot of fun. I'm going to go see my family for the last time, watch Skinwalker Ranch, my favorite show, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Any other news breaking, I will be back. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's HOWIE Vision, baby. We're all just living in it. Listen, holdouts can get nasty. They really can. And here's the thing about a holdout, right? Let's say, like, if you hold out the first week, maybe even 2 weeks, I think you could get away with it. But if you get where you're starting to miss preseason games, and let's say you go through all of training camp and you don't report, well, you're behind. Let's say Haason Reddick and CeeDee Lamb, let's say they don't report until after training camp, right? But they come in for week 1. Well, how many reps are you going to get in the first week of the season? You're gonna have to work up to your reps. So a guy like CeeDee Lamb, Haason Reddick aren't going to get off to a good start. They're not going to play a lot the first few weeks, and that could hurt both their squads. I think it's very interesting that Brandon Ayuk is showing up for training camp, even though we know he wants a new contract. What does that tell me? Is he's coming in there, and he knows he's probably going to get traded somewhere, and he's putting his best foot forward. So shout out to Ayuk for doing the right thing, because I think that It's, like I said, you could get away the first week of training camp, maybe second, but you need to be there by the preseason games. You miss a whole training camp, you really set your team back. You set your season back. It always works like that. Denzel Washington out.
Hi, Michael Anthony Fitness here, MAF.
That's all, folks.
The brother screwed us.